Hello everyone, I am Dr. Shinjini Pandey from Goregaon West, Mumbai. I am a gynecologist and a laparoscopic surgeon, and for the last 15 years I have been almost exclusively performing gynecological laparoscopic surgeries. So basically through this portal, the aim is to discuss certain health related issues which women face in their day-to-day lives, and through this portal we have already discussed two topics about women's health, and they were PCOD, the problem of polycystic ovarian disease, and also the problem of endometriosis in our past talks. Today we will be discussing a very important topic which many women suffer from during their reproductive age, and this is the problem of fibroid uterus. Now basically, fibroid is a tumor which arises in the wall of the uterus. That is, it's a tumor which arises from the muscle of the uterus. Now it's a very common problem, so common that probably maybe up to 20 to 25% of women will be detected with fibroids by the time they are 40 to 50 years of age. However, many of these women will not have any symptoms related to the fibroid per se. Today we will discuss on what are the fibroids that are important to treat and how do they affect a woman's health. What are the treatment options available for a woman, and what are the medical options, that is, can these fibroids be treated by medicines, and if not, what are the surgical options that a woman has. So coming to the talk, very briefly, one of the first things that I want a patient to understand is that fibroids are basically non-cancerous. It is extremely rare for a fibroid to harbor a cancer. Now this being said, let us start with what these fibroids basically are. So these fibroids are basically solid tumors which arise from the wall of the uterus, and depending on their position in the uterus, we classify them, or we divide the fibroids as, fibroids which arise close to the inside part of the uterus, which is known as the cavity of the uterus, and these fibroids in medical lingo will be defined or described as submucous fibroids. The second category of fibroids is the one that arises very superficially. It kind of sits on the surface of the uterus, and these are the ones which we will describe as subserous fibroids. The third category is the in-between category, which arises from the wall of the uterus itself and then may grow preferentially towards the inside or towards the outside, and these are known as intramural fibroids. Now depending upon the position of the fibroid and their size, each woman may have symptoms depending upon the location and the size. Some fibroids, for instance the ones that are sitting on the outside and are only superficially attached to the uterus, may not really have or show symptoms till they grow to a very large size indeed. So such women may often be asymptomatic, and when the fibroid grows to a large size, for instance it may grow up to 7 centimeters, 8 centimeters, then sometimes these women will have pressure effects. So they may land, if the fibroid is positioned on the posterior or the behind aspect of the uterus, then it will press against the large intestine and make, the woman may come with constipation. Rather than having any gynecological issue, she may approach a doctor with constipation, and then on routine workup, the fibroid may be found. Similarly, if it is situated on the front of the uterus, it may press against the urinary bladder, because the reproductive system, that is the uterus, is kind of sandwiched between the urinary bladder ahead and the intestines behind. So these fibroids, which is the category of the ones which is superficial, may not actually present with any symptoms till they grow to a large size indeed. Now coming to the other extreme category, the ones that are projecting inside the cavity. So what is the cavity? The cavity is the place which is the inside space of the uterus. This is the space where the baby grows. Now this is the space which sheds its lining during every period, which is known as the menstrual period. So now if this fibroid is situated and projects into the cavity, the woman will present with early symptoms. Even if this fibroid is not very large, because it is at a very crucial position, it's inside the uterus, this woman, even if the fibroid is, let us say, as much as just 2 centimeters in size, this woman will come to you with, let us say, heavy period or passing clots during period. She may even have bleeding in between her periods. She may have a lot of pain during her periods because the fibroid kind of causes a lot of contractions of the uterus during her period. So this is the woman who will present with symptoms early, even though the fibroid is not very large in size. Now coming to the in-between category, when the fibroid is present inside the wall of the uterus and then grows maybe towards the cavity or maybe towards the superficial size. Now this woman will present at an intermediate time period. When the fibroid grows to something, let us say 4 centimeters or 5 centimeters, then the uterus may expand. If it is growing towards the inside, she may come to you with heavy bleeding or pain between during the periods and symptoms similar to this. Another important aspect of fibroids is that fibroids, especially the ones that are present or projecting inside the cavity and the ones that are present within the wall of the uterus, when these fibroids become significantly large, then these fibroids will interfere with pregnancy. So such women may have trouble having a pregnancy, and if at all they become pregnant, then they have a higher chance of aborting, that is, having a miscarriage. So the presence of fibroids may be harmful to their reproductive health in this way per se. Now there are a lot of categories of fibroids which are hybrid. So we will not be discussing these fibroids in this talk per se because this is beyond the domain of this talk. But overall, it is enough to understand that fibroids are benign growths, that is, they are non-cancerous. To a large extent, it is very rare to harbor a malignancy in a fibroid. Second point that is very important is that the symptoms that a woman may manifest are depending on majorly the position of the fibroid and the size of the fibroid. To a large extent, many fibroids may be asymptomatic and may not need any treatment except, a follow-up on whether they are growing, etc. Now, once a fibroid has started causing trouble to the lady or it is causing symptoms per se, then is the time period that an active treatment or an intervention is required. Now, whether this woman, whether she needs just a medical management or a surgical management will be decided on many factors and will be decided by your gynecologist. Normally, the role of medical management, that is shrinking the size of fibroids using medicines or tablets or injections, is very small. So when we talk of medical management, it is very important for the patient to understand that the role of drugs or medicines, tablets, injections, whatever it is very limited. And there is only a very small percentage of patients who will really benefit from the use of these medicines. Please remember that the medicines that we use do not have a kind of permanent effect on shrinking the fibroid. And there is no tablet as yet available which will 100% kind of dissolve or shrink the fibroid. So there is a size reduction which will happen, and with that size reduction, the lady will get symptomatic relief. The major management, if symptomatic, could be surgical, especially if the woman has infertility and severe bleeding as her problems. Now coming to the first part of treatment, which is obviously medical management. So very broadly, I want you to understand that there are two categories of medicines which are available in the market, which are used for the purpose of shrinking the fibroid. The first one, or this medicine, the name is ulipristal acetate. Now this is basically a progesterone receptor antagonist. Now this medicine, if given in the right dose, will cause a reduction in the size of the fibroid. Very broadly speaking, the medicine has to be given for, let us say, a minimum period of 3 months for it to give a substantial effect to the patient. And the size shrinkage, if it works well, could be anything to the tune of maybe 20 to 60%, and in some patients even more. That is the shrinkage of the size of the fibroid. However, there is a problem with the use of this medicine. Now this medicine causes the endometrium, which is the inside lining of the cavity of the uterus, to become thick as one of its side effects. And because of this particular side effect, we can't give the medicine for a longer period. So after we medicate the patient for a time period of 3 months, or we have to give a break to the patient for say about a month, and then resume the drug again. The chance is that once you stop the use of this medicine, depending upon a variable time period, the fibroid may start regrowing. Now one of the concerns with the use of this medicine in the past was that there were a few reports of this medicine being causing damage to the liver per se, and for this reason it was also withdrawn in some countries in the past. However, now most studies have clarified that if properly used, this should not be so, and this medicine has come back into the market. So this is the first medicine, ulipristal acetate. Now the second category, another thing I would just like to talk about ulipristal acetate is the fact that the treatment is, let us say, a little pricey in terms of being expensive, and if a proper or a higher dosage is required, then it could be anything to the tune of, let us say, in Indian currency, 200 rupees to 600 rupees per day. So for many of our patients, this cost is also of concern. Now coming to the second part of the medical management, we have some injections or certain medicines which are known as GnRH agonists or analogues. Now these injections, very broadly speaking from a patient perspective, may be given in dosages of once a month or maybe 3 monthly dosages. These will also shrink the fibroid to a good extent, but the disadvantage of this injection is that it acts as an anti-estrogen. So women start getting side effects which are similar to what they would get when they reach menopause. So many women will report feeling hot with sweating. They may report not being able to sleep well at night, and certain symptoms which are almost similar to what a woman undergoes during her menopausal period. Also, these injections cannot be given on a long-term basis because sometimes they will cause weakening of the bones, and therefore these medicines or injections rather are not really recommended for a long period. Now, what is the role of these medicines sometimes which are used to shrink fibroids? Sometimes doctors or gynecologists will use these medicines to temporarily shrink the fibroid. For example, if I have a woman who has come to me who for some reason cannot undergo a surgery as yet, and maybe is very low on her hemoglobin because of the severe bleeding caused by the fibroid. So I may use this either of the medicines so as to shrink the fibroid temporarily to build her hemoglobin up so that she is ready for a surgery in the next upcoming months. A very few percentage of women may have a long-term action with ulipristal acetate and may report getting a kind of long-term benefit with the medication. So here we have now discussed the medical management of fibroids per se. Now the mainstay of management remains actually surgical, and in the present era of modern gynecology, I would, as a laparoscopic surgeon, really stress upon the fact that fibroids which need a surgical management are best handled via the minimally invasive route, which is laparoscopy. Now, laparoscopy, or which is commonly known as keyhole surgery, has very many advantages. We will have a discussion on the other advantages of laparoscopy in some separate talk. But the basic aim today is with regards to the fibroids. So basically fibroids are beautifully managed through the laparoscopic or the hysteroscopic approach. As I told you, one of the main categories of fibroids which are very harmful to a woman's health is the ones that are near the inside part of the uterus, that is those that are near the cavity of the uterus. These are the ones that will cause a lot of heavy bleeding and actually interfere a lot with fertility. So these are the ones that need to be removed. Now the best approach to remove these fibroids is by a minimally invasive route, which is known as hysteroscopy. So we have a hysteroscopic device which enters through the inside of the uterus and we kind of scoop the entire fibroid out. This is known as hysteroscopic resection of fibroids. A very safe technique if used well and is of lot of benefit to the patients. The other categories of fibroids, the larger ones that are inside the wall of the uterus, or the very large ones that are superficial but have grown to a size which is indeed disturbing the lady, they can be handled via the laparoscopic route, in which we put a laparoscope through the belly button or through the umbilical area or maybe a little higher than that, and then we remove the fibroids via the laparoscopic route. The major advantage is the magnification that we get via laparoscopy, the precision of surgery that is beautiful via the laparoscopy, the faster recovery, and a healing which is very fast and comparable and even better, I would say, than the open surgical approach. So in short, the technique of surgery has changed over the years. With the modern advances, the minimally invasive approach is the one that is preferred nowadays, and under the right hands and the right skills, the minimally invasive approach is the one that should be adopted in a case of a conservative surgery for fibroids, especially in women who are wanting a pregnancy ahead. This is a short video. If you have any questions regarding fibroids, you may please put in the comment section below, and I will meet you after some time. And if you have any topics which you want me to discuss or particularly talk upon, please write in the comment box below. We will take care of these topics. Thanking you. Signing off for now, Dr. Shinjini Pandey.